Hello and welcome to another episode of Heart Centered Conversations with me, Jane McDowell from Rewilding Women's Voices. This is the podcast where I talk to people about books that they have read that have inspired them to do magnificent things in their lives. Books that have shifted their perceptions and increased their knowledge. And yeah, like I say, just inspired them in general. And today it's my very great pleasure to introduce my lovely friend, Sarah Jane Johnston. Sarah Jane, do tell us all about yourself.
Thank you, Jane. I'm absolutely delighted to be here this afternoon. And I think Jane and I were talking about it's probably taken over 12 months to get us together. So it's finally happened, which is wonderful on this gorgeous sunny April day. So a little bit about me. I run a business called Evolution 34, and it's all around helping my clients to make small changes that seem massive for them, but small nutritional and energy changes that will give them the life that they should be living, but they're not living because they don't have the education that I have.
Cool. And tell me, Sarah Jane, what is the book that you have brought to the conversation
The
today?
book that I've bought today is Who's in Your Room by Stewart Emery, Ivan Misner, and Doug Hardy.
Okay, so
Excited to share with this.
it's a very intriguing title, Who's in Your Room? What kind of room are they talking about?
It's your metaphorical room. So it's the room that's in your head. So it's everybody that you've ever come across and are about to come across as well. So it's who's actually in your room.
Ah, so is this because I've worked with some wonderful mentors and coaches over the years and other people who have inspired me, and quite often I'm hearing their voice in my head when I'm having a certain thought or not doing something or doing something, and I'll hear their little voice in my head. So is that what this book is about?
Yes, it's yeah, I surround myself with people that are my engines, not my anchors. And that's covered in the book. And that was always something that was really, really important to me. You know, I met you because you were an engine. You didn't anchor me down. You gave me the the voice in my head that at times when I know, oh, I think I know what Jane would say. So you are one of my masters and mentors, and that's also covered in the book as well. But there's a strange reason why I read the book.
Do tell.
So I'm a member of BNI, and if anyone watching this podcast heard me say earlier that one of the co-authors was Ivan Misner, you will know that he's the founder of BNI. Now, if anybody knows me, the word challenge gets me dead excited. Oh, and I was very, very busy 2 years ago. It was at the end of 2023. And an email came into my inbox and it was this Who's in Your Room challenge. And it was from Ivan Mice. And I thought, oh, okay, well, it's Ivan. And it says challenge at the end of it. If it had
Right,
said
Sarah Jane, I'm just going to interrupt you 1 second. Just for the people who don't know and have never heard of BNI, what is BNI?
A BNI is a referral marketing network that I choose to be a part of that last year gave me 82% of my business. So I'm a member of BNI. Thank you,
Cool.
Jane, because that,
That's all right.
everybody will know. So yeah, so this email came into my inbox, and if you're in my inbox as unread, that means I love you because I will get round to that email. And I was in a different scenario than I would normally be. I was in a hotel room, very late at night. I was on my own, and I thought I'm just going to go through my emails. And an email popped in again to say you literally the challenge will commence at midnight. You need to sign up now. And I'm like, oh my God, this challenge, it's been in my inbox. So I registered for this challenge and started the next day. And boy, that is when the rest of my life started.
Wow, when was this, Sarah Jane?
This was December 2023. So
Hmm.
I brought the book because it said buy the book to do
Yeah.
the challenge. I bought the book, so it was coming from Amazon, and I started to do the challenge. And back then, I was the first cohort that Ivan and a gentleman called Isaac Stegman have put this challenge together around the book because the book's there and everybody likes the book, but how come they get more people involved in it? So it was an 11-day challenge, and it was so exciting. The reason I originally wanted to do it is particularly with my diabetic clients, there is always somebody in their room that is causing the issue. So it might be the lady whose father said, don't worry, The NHS give you insulin, it's free. You just jab your leg twice a day, it's fine. She was horrified. So, what I've been doing over the last 5 years as I've been running my business is reframing those types of conversations. So, saying, her father is in her room. Of course, he is. She loves him and he loves her. But she has to find a way to deal with the Friday night fish and chip supper. So, I was reframing conversations that my clients were having with the auntie that's the feeder. She just likes baking. She means well. So most of the people in your room, in my client's room at the time, mean well. They're not trying to
Yes.
be awful. And that was how I wanted to do the challenge. And then in January, so we finished the challenge and I was going through the book and it's a personal development book. So very much like, writing in the pages, bought a new notebook, love a new notebook.
Me too.
And, and then in January, this instructor course came out. So you could spend even more time with Ivan and Isaac and explore deeper into the book. And that's when the magic really started to personally affect me. So I had a childhood incident that if I spoke about it in January 2024, I'd have burst into tears. And when we were doing the book, it kept bringing up this memory, and I was sobbing and sobbing and sobbing, not just a crocodile tear, literally sobbing, heart pounding. It's like, this is ridiculous, because it's a situation linked to my mum. My mum's in my room, and I love her dearly. But and a lady in my BNI group was talking about trauma, and she helps people with trauma. Now, to me at the
Mm,
time, trauma is a road traffic accident. It's, something very traumatic that leaves you with an injury. That's what the word trauma was in my mind.
mm.
And I thought I have to speak to Suzanne. She was on holiday and I had to wait for her to come back, which was only a week. And I talked her through the situation. She said, I can absolutely help you. And I had this trauma release session. And now I ask my mum about the person with love and with heartfelt feeling, not through gritted teeth. And
Yeah.
mum's watching this podcast. We've talked about it. We spent a weekend at Champneys last year, and I talked about the book and I told about the session. And that was massive for me, from
Mm.
a situation that happened when I was 12 to being a 51-year-old nearly last January. Um, and actually, I have no recollection of, I have a recollection of it, but I'm absolutely smiling and talking about it. And I was like, wow, this book has just given me so much. So now,
Well, if it had only given you that, that is priceless, isn't it, really?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's helped me further. I don't reframe the questions to my client in a different way, but I do talk about your metaphorical room and who's around you and how close and how near you need people, making the time to draw people closer that you want to spend the time with. Distancing people that just gently need to be distanced for you. Sometimes putting yourself in the lockbox because you're the issue. You're the
Well,
person that's
yeah,
holding you back.
yeah.
And then after the instructor level course, I went on to an even smaller group. I think there's 20 of us, and we're now trained to run workshops. So I'm running a workshop next week on this.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing, though, Jane.
fantastic book.
Ah. So tell me, because I'm intrigued, because I've also had to come to terms with past traumas and clear them as well. So great work on doing that, Sarah Jane. So, like you said, your relationship with your mum has changed. How else has it kind of freed up your energy and your headspace?
I think just having the time to just there's parts of the book as well where there's one part that I absolutely love, and it's not titled this, but when the training, it's how to say no without sounding like a jerk.
Mm, yeah,
I think there's very much being a solo entrepreneur as well, you're not a solo entrepreneur, but you're an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur. And there's absolutely that, taking every single opportunity. But I'm better able to assess very, very quickly from having done this book, is it an opportunity or is it something that I really don't need to take?
yeah, yeah.
And so I say yes to absolutely the right things, and I can politely decline from things that just aren't going to fill my bucket, or are with somebody that I just think actually I've pushed you slightly out of the way. You can't ever
Mm,
shift anybody out the room because once they're in, they're in.
mm.
But the book teaches you around having a doorkeeper and a concierge and talks about how getting to know people and where you want them to be in your room and how you sort out your room. So the book has massively changed from a trauma situation, but given me the tools and techniques to be able to say yes to the people that I want to say yes to and politely no, and how else I can help that person
Yeah,
without sounding like a jerk.
yeah. I guess initially you probably didn't sound like a jerk anyway, but it's how you feel, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, I know, and that's quite a strong word. So yes, and I think it just because with the way I say it, it's quite a when I say I did a piece of homework and I put it out to my BNI group, I needed to record a piece of homework. So I said it's going to be 5 ways of how to say no without sounding like a jerk. And I absolutely got the people that I wanted because they didn't take offense to the word and I think
Mm,
they got what I mean. It's we're not sounding like a jerk, but
yeah.
and I was absolutely able in that 12-minute homework to really resonate with somebody else. And he came back to me and thanked me. And I bought two books at the time because I always knew that I wanted to gift one to the right person, and that was that person. So yeah, so the book kind of frees me up, and it also learnt me. There's a chapter on living in your flame, not in your wax. I just love that.
No, I like that
It's
analogy.
just doing what you want to do because you know how to resist what you don't want and you know how to have the absolutely right people around you. It absolutely talks about mentors and masters. So, Jane, you were on my list of mentors and masters, having had you in my world now for 5+ years.
Oh, thanks, Sarah Jane.
So, and it talks around about surrounding yourself with the people that I say are going to be your engines, not your anchors. It's really interesting. Because I talk a lot about this book and it is my life. I wake up every morning and I think who's in my world today? Who have I got around me? And then at the end of the day, reflecting on how wonderful the day's been, and actually, is there some a different way I could have served somebody, or somebody that I might possibly want to move in my room, or somebody that I just miss so much because they popped into my mind when I was driving, and I was like, I have to absolutely make time for them. And that's typically when I get back and I email my godmother and we arrange lunch because, believe it or not, it was 6 months since we last saw each other, and that's shocking. So but you don't sweat the small stuff. You just go,
Yeah,
okay, it's been 6 months. I'll go home and I'll prioritize that email. It might not get done that day, but it will get done the day after. Um,
yeah,
so it's just freed my mind of all the clutter around people that I just don't need so close, and I've managed
yeah,
to distance.
yeah. I think it's a really good example of how to get out of that people-pleasing behavior that so many of us, especially women, fall into because we're socially conditioned to be like that. And the clearer we can get on what it is that we want for ourselves, the easier it is then to focus on that and to be able to put those boundaries in place and say, "Oh, thanks so much for asking me. And I'm going to say no because my focus is elsewhere." Or you don't even things you don't even need to justify why you say no. You just say no thanks. You
Mhm.
know. But yeah, I think it's this whole people pleasing thing is something that I work a lot with my clients on
Mhm.
because it's so easy just to get drawn away from what you want in all areas of your life, not just in your business, but your family life, or even down to what are you going to watch on TV if you're just chilling out with the family in the evening. It's like, yeah, just learning to say, actually, no thanks. It's really, really liberating.
Mhm.
Like you say, it just gives you so much more energy and clarity, and freeing up your headspace. It's far less exhausting as well, isn't it?
There's a really good book, and it would absolutely resonate with you and the work that you do with your clients, there's always somebody, whether it's in a social circle, whether it's in a work environment, whether it's in a networking group that you belong to. There's always everybody's different. Of course, everybody's different. And I was looking after a BNI group, and there was somebody that kept phoning me up, and every time they phoned me, I was like, I need to take this call because I need to get rid of them. And I was starting to even do it as I was welcoming clients to a Pilates class. So I'd be there 15 minutes early and they would be early. It was quite an elderly group, so they'd arrive half an hour early.
Yeah,
It's their social thing. And I'd sort of be wrapping up this call, and I was just like, what am I doing? I need to be present for these people, whether they do demand a little bit more of my time, and I've arrived that early. And was going through the book, and there's something around just benignly neglecting somebody. And again, we use this word neglect in the most positive of ways, and actually not having to pick up the phone. It wasn't like they were the be all and end all, but the sooner I dealt with the situation, the faster it was out of my mind, and I could crack on with something else. But I was feeding that person's need. And
yeah,
once I realized that actually I was probably doing that person a disjustice, that I could let the phone ring and be okay with it. And
mm,
the messages stopped, and then the phone calls stopped. And when I saw the person at a training event, I was genuinely happy to see them.
yeah,
Before I would have gone, oh, where's the coffee machine? It's over
yeah,
here. And that's not right for me and that's not right for that person. So now I don't know who they've gone to, but I was literally feeding the situation and hadn't realized it. So that again was really liberating. Just
yeah,
being able to think that that person doesn't have the right to demand your time, but also you shouldn't feed their need for that constant whatever they were
yeah.
getting out of it. It's probably
Oh,
both good.
job well done, I reckon. Yeah. Yeah, because like you said, sometimes we can be the person in the room that's stopping us as well. So were you aware of how you were stopping yourself in your own room when you first read the book?
Yes, yes, definitely. And that there were times when I would wake up and think, I am my own issue. That, once you've started to clear a lot of the clutter, and you look at yourself, then yes, absolutely. And then that's when you then go to your engines and your masters and your mentors, and you free up the time to absolutely listen to what they're saying, and why you want them in your life, because
Mm,
they absolutely help you. Um, so yeah, you see things in a different way.
yeah, yeah. And that's what's great about, most of the books that I talk about on this podcast is that
Mm.
they do shift people's perception. They give them a different perspective on what's going on around them or how they view certain topics or the world as a whole. Yeah, it's and I think that having that kind of open mind and that open heart as we travel through life, it just makes it more interesting. And we get to feel more we get to feel more fulfilled. I don't know why that's so difficult to say. Feel more.
It's
Too many F's
lots
and
of
L's
F's
in
there.
it. Yeah. Yeah, and I think it just enriches our experience and the experience of people around us, I think, too. At least I
I
hope.
always, sorry. I always thought I was a happy person, I always do. I've been in a team where a boss has said, "Oh, you see everything through rose-tinted glasses," and it's like, why would you want to see it any other way? And I always thought I was a really happy, relaxed person. But this book just gave me another level, an extra level. I talk about food intolerance testing with my clients, and they go, "Oh my God, I feel so much more awake." I thought feeling tired at 4 o'clock when you're in your 60s was just a thing because you were old. It's
Yeah,
not. It's what I was eating. And I think all the clutter and all the emotion around us sometimes can just stop us from having the energy. I felt going through the challenge, going through the book, going through the workshop and doing all we had like homework partners, and it was really good. I was partnered up with a lady in India, and it was just amazing that, every week we would just had so much fun and we laughed together. And yeah, and coming through it, I just feel lighter, better able to make better decisions about who I have around me. And I've made mistakes. I thought the other day about a lady I've not spoke to for a while, and I thought I'd give her a call. And I realised there was a reason why I possibly hadn't picked up the phone for a while. So we will make mistakes, and that's okay because we're consistently learning, consistently trying.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, was that a mistake or was it just an opportunity to get some clarity around your relationship with that person?
Thank you, Jane, for that. Because who knows?
So you mentioned that, that once you'd kind of come to get on board with the idea of the room and that there were probably people in your life, like the lady you just spoke about, how did you feel about that kind of, okay, I'm just going to put you in the corner over there and not really focus on you very much? Was that
I think it's
tricky?
fine. One part of the book is around values, and that's
Yeah,
one of the topics I'm covering in the workshop because it's okay that not everybody aligns with your values. And I think once you understand that, that's okay. And neither do you like, because it's not just about who's in your room. I've invited myself today, or we've had for me to be with you this afternoon. So I'm also mindful that I'm in other people's rooms. Of course I am
yeah, yeah,
thousands of people's rooms when you think about everybody from birth to 51 years old. So I am quite conscious to think about, am I the right person that they want to be around? Do I align with their values, or I just frustrate the heck out of them?
yeah, yeah,
Um, so it it teaches you to think about both people in the relationship and what's right for both people in the relationship, and allowing you to let the relationship happen or to die off again. And we have friendships around, one of my I was devastated a couple of summers ago. Facebook told me it was one of my friend's birthdays, and I sent her a message to say, "Is it your birthday today?" And I got a yep. We've never seen each other again.
mm,
And I was really sad, really, really sad. And I thought, well, it was a friendship through convenience. And I think that's what we have to remember as well, whether it's through school, starting at nurseries, through school, through jobs, through associations and clubs that we belong to. There's a reason why we want that to be part of our life or has to be part of our life. And we meet people and acquaintances, and some people can become quite friendly. And we were both commuters on a train, 6:30, Monday to Friday. We said hello. 8 o'clock at night, we both walked from the train station back to our cars. I spent more time with her than I did my husband and my family, who are my pugs and my cats. And so you do have strong bonds. You do know what's happening in their life, how their mum is, the
yeah,
brother that's sick, you know so much because you're in that train for an hour and a half.
mm,
And she was made redundant. I set up the business, and we were just starting just to need to go our separate ways, but desperately clinging on to it because we've been such
yeah,
good friends for 3 years. And the more we met for coffee, the more I kept thinking, this isn't what I need right now. I was getting asked, I was part of a mentorship program. I was learning from you, Jane, and this person was going, when are you going to get a full-time job? Is this a hobby? Have you got a big
yeah, yeah. We've all
and
got
I
people like that in our lives.
and I started to realize that 3 hours that I was spending with that person, I would just write the time off. And I was like, why am I doing this? three
Mm,
hours to serve clients, to do some reading, to spend time with people you want. And it wasn't until I did and then we had the birthday scenario. And it wasn't until I read the Who's in the Room, and absolutely, we needed each other's friendship for those train journeys and for
yeah,
those nights walking in the dark to each other's cars. We needed that friendship then. We no longer need the friendship. And that's okay. That's
mm,
okay to realize it. Um, there's some people from school that I wish we'd have had mobile phones at the time, and I would have had their phone numbers and I don't, and I can't find them. And I think, well, maybe it's not meant to be.
Yeah,
Um,
I think as one of my mentors said the other day, and I'm paraphrasing, but she said, nothing that is meant for you will pass you by. So, you know, if you're meant to, if you're destined to get back in touch with an old school friend, it'll happen somehow, you know. Yeah, that's my belief anyway. Cool. Well, Sarah Jane, it's been an absolute pleasure having this conversation with you today. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you
And
for having me.
thanks everyone for watching and listening. Please do remember to like and subscribe, and I will put all the details of the book that Sarah's been talking about into the description of the show so that you can go off and buy your own copy and find out who's in your room. All right, take care. Bye.